I am here in Medjugorje and I'm at the Italian pastry shop and I'm with, what's your name?
Valeria.
Where are you from?
I'm from Mexico City.
Mexico City, that's far away. When did you hear about Medjugorje and why did you come here?
So the first time I came here, it was in 2014. It was 1 year after my sister came. She came with a group of the family, and she was the most religious one in our family. And when she came back from Medjugorje, we thought she was crazy because although we were believers and everything, it's really, well, too much for us. But the next year, my dad was looking for places to go for vacation. And every time he went into Booking or Airbnb or something came up about Medjugorje. Something.
Oh.
And then he was like, okay, maybe, the gospel wants us to come to Medjugorje. So we came here and we fell in love. And since then, my parents bring every year a group of between 80 and 120 people from Mexico.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So you came here and what happened to you?
For me, I think Medjugorje, the special thing for me is that you don't see huge miracles everywhere, and you don't get to see maybe all the beautiful stuff that everything talks about, but you see miracles in the little things, you know. Even my friend was telling me before that this is a place like you feel like even the rocks have a story to tell. Everyone has a story to tell, and I've seen my family change for good. I've seen my dad was addict to like smoking, and he doesn't smoke anymore. Just by a comment, he said, "Oh, please, Mary, take out this pain that is smoking," and the next day,
Gone.
he quit. Yeah,
That's amazing.
And my mom, my sister, my little niece, this year, like 1 month ago, she took the first steps walking towards the an image of the Virgin Mary. So
Wow, that's amazing. And for you personally, what happened?
well,
You came back, you said so often, no?
yeah. I think one thing I appreciate the most is that my family is not perfect and we have a lot of troubles and problems and everything, but at least once a year it's promised that my family gathers to come here to Medjugorje. So one thing is that it keeps my family together, and Medjugorje has given me a lot of friends that I really consider as family, priests and people that organizes things here in Medjugorje, and like everything. I feel like I have a family too.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, for example, I just made a huge decision in my life I live in Milano, and my decision is to come back to Mexico to create something for myself, and the answer I got it here in Medjugorje. So
Wow.
yeah.
So it's like I was in Israel and people said it's a local phone call to heaven.
Yeah,
Is that the same here? It's a local,
for
the
me,
distance?
every time, even if I ask something really small, I like doubts that I have or something that just my heart is concerned about. Every time, Medjugorje finds its way to answer me in a, I don't know, like even in a small talk with somebody in the street, or I don't know. It's
Wow,
really
beautiful. It's like a person talking to you, or you see a book.
Yeah.
God incidents is like how we found each other here talking.
Yeah.
And you go confession, because this is called the confessional of the world. What do you tell young people? What is so beautiful about Catholic confession?
For me, is that even though everybody tells that you don't have to carry the guilt of the sin, and many people thinks that a lot of non-Catholics think that they don't have this guilt of doing wrong stuff. You have it, and you really feel it, and you really feel like you have like a backpack carrying huge rocks and huge weight on your back, And here, when I had my first confession, just looking at the priest's eyes, I really felt that I was talking to God and that he was understanding me. And it was just, I kept talking and talking and talking. Even though I got confession every 2 weeks or something, it was like there were little stuff hidden in my heart that were like giving me pain in a way. So it was one of the first things that I fell in love with Medjugorje, that it took all that pain, it took all that weight from my heart, and it was really,
That was confession. Who took
yeah,
that pain and weight on?
yeah, a pain that I didn't know that I had. So I felt just lighter.
I see you're shiny. You're happy. If people knew, no, that they would be shiny and happy if they go confession.
Yeah, yeah.
So not to be fearful about it.
Yeah, no, because at the end, I feel like sometimes, for example, us girls that we gossip every time and we talk about everything, we talk about for a reason. Normally, we talk about our problems for a reason because we need to take it off, talk to somebody. And sometimes our friends, even if they are friends, they judge us. Our decisions, our opinions, they can judge us. And a priest don't. A priest just hears. And the beautiful thing is that normally a priest sees just your heart and your pain and your soul. They don't judge your decisions or if you're a sinner or if you're making mistakes. They just hear you. And normally all the advices that they give come from there, from a soul that need God. And
Wow, it's powerful, isn't it? Liberating. You're
yeah,
happy, joyful. You want to embrace everybody.
yeah.
And then be in a state of grace and we can receive the Eucharist. It seems people, young people, they don't understand anymore what is the Eucharist.
Well, I come from a group that we make everything around the Eucharist. I'm from Hakuna, and it's right now a group that it's growing. It was born in Madrid, and every time you hear more about it, because every time more people get to understand that the adorations and everything, and going to mass and taking the communion, it's more than just like I don't know, like
The ritual.
ritual and normal. No, you get to see God alive. A phrase that Don Josepe wrote in the founder of Hakuna wrote in a book was that it's really funny how everybody looks at the cross and they want to see a God alive, a Jesus alive, and maybe the image looks like Jesus is alive. But the thing is that you want to see God alive in an image, and in the other, in the Eucharist, maybe you don't see a God alive, but there is a living God and a breathing God and a God that normally I imagine every time that I go to adorations. Maybe the Eucharist is there, but I always imagine Jesus like sitting on the stairs, looking at everybody's hearts, praying and wishing. Even we are at the choir, and every time we make mistakes, I always imagine him like smiling and making fun of like us. And I don't know.
It's a
I see
joyful
it.
God, isn't it?
Yeah, like I feel it more closer to me, and thanks to that, my faith has grown like
Expand.
like
Yeah.
crazy, and since then I haven't lost my way, and every time I know that there's a way to come back.
Wow, beautiful. And you think Medjugorje made your faith grow as well?
Yeah,
In which way?
to be honest, I felt more in Mexico. We have our words to say like kind of spoiled, but it's not spoiled. We say apapachado. Apapachado means like spoiling your heart kind of a way.
Mhm.
And I feel like the Virgin Mary spoils my heart every time that I come here.
So
Like,
beautiful.
and you know, when you're sad and you get a hug from your mom, kind of like that. Every time I come to Medjugorje, I feel like uh, in every single thing. Even if I drink a coffee, I feel like it's spoiled by my mom.
Wow.
So it's really beautiful.
And Hakuna, I was in Girona, and Hakuna, it's also about the Holy Spirit, the gifts of the Holy Spirit. How can you have the Holy Spirit in your life? What would you tell people?
First of all, I think you have to let your heart open, because normally in the world that we live, it's really easy to close your heart because everything that's happening around you. And I think there's no life when you close everything about yourself. And normally what I say is just live joyfully, and inside that joyful way to see life, you will get to see the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit will give you strength and will give you joy, and will give you love, and you will literally feel him. And
Why are you so on fire? You're so on fire for Christ and the Catholic faith. Why is that? Why are you so on fire for Christ?
I don't know, because I got to see changes in my life because of him. I got to see people life changed because of him. I got to see a life without that shameful point of view that everybody has. Like, even if it's the worst thing that's happening, the wars, I don't know, everything, I get to see the world with mercy. And I think that's a way to understand the world without pain, without like suffering that much. You get to I try to see the world as Jesus would see it. And
Beautiful. Did it soften your heart?
yeah, of course. Every time, well, I try, because of course it's hard to do it, but every time that somebody's in trouble, or somebody's it's addict to something, or in parties, when people is getting lost with everything, well, I try to see them with mercy and understanding that maybe that anger or that need of something is just the need of God. And I try to be instrument of God, even in parties, as Hakuna says. You can be saints, and you can take God to parties and to the normal stuff, and take Jesus to there. So I try to-
Make a little promotion for Hakuna. It's a beautiful movement from Spain. What is it about?
Well, the goal is to take Jesus alive everywhere, to every place of the world, and to live a beautiful life, to let Jesus live inside us and live through us. So one of the main important things of Hakuna is the adorations, because you can't take God to places if you don't have him, if you don't understand him, if you don't like try to understand him more. Because as in every relationship, you can't give things that you don't have. So you really need to do that. And I think Hakuna has given me that grace to understand that. And I'm a very creative person, and normally I get to feel God closer when I sing or with music, and Hakuna is really a little bit about it. So
But you think, a lot of people think God the Father is an angry old man with a white beard. You make a mistake, he's happy to send you to hell. A lot of people, Catholics especially, think that.
yeah, I think
But you met another God. You're full of joy and peace.
yeah.
How is God the Father really?
If for me, it's really hard to think about an angry God. Of course, I have fear when I sin, because I know I don't get fear when I sin to get punished, but the fear to know that I'm hurting him. That every time that I sin or that I do something wrong, I know that I'm hurting him. So I think I thanks to my parents, because since I was little, my mother and my dad tried to present me God as my friend and as a father to me, rather than an angry man that is try to punish you every time that you do something wrong. one thing my mother always said, that in the Bible, everything, well, in the New Testament, Jesus just shows you how to live a life with more freedom, with more a sense of mercy, with more love, rather than punishments. Of course, the how is it called? The 10 Mandamientos,
The Ten Commandments.
the 10 Commandments. People may understand them as the rules, and the rules that gives God, otherwise you will go to hell. No, it's just little advices to go to heaven. Just I don't think, if you start looking at things in life with a negative point of view, of course you will suffer. But if you try to see it as a positive way, it's just like a stair to go to heaven. It's not something to go to hell, but a way to go to heaven easily.
And to have freedom, joy.
Yeah.
St. John Paul II said everything what young people look for, adventure, excitement, that's Jesus.
Yeah, of course. And Jesus is fun. Jesus, when I always imagine Jesus with his friends, I don't think him as, I don't imagine him just a boring guy. I think he got to laugh, and he got to make jokes with them, and like he went. Right now, it's really trendy to do hikes. He did hikes too with their friends, and in the mountain, he talked to the people about his dad, about God, and I don't imagine him as a boring guy.
Yeah.
or someone that wanted for us to live a boring life or a worried life. No, he wanted us to live freely and joyfully.
That's what he said. I set you free.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk to him like a friend?
Yeah, sometimes like a friend, sometimes like my dad. Depend on the problem that I'm looking for to talk about. But it's always, I try to talk to him. I don't know, I have trouble to have like the vocabulary to speak really like poetically, like a lot of people talk to him. I just try to talk to him as a friend, like I would talk to my friends or my dad, like taking an advice. And I think there's a song in Hakuna that is really pretty, that in one part says that, like, talk to me, like I'm happy for you to come as for advice, like I'm your dad. Like I think as any dad in the world would be happy for their son or daughter to come to them for an advice, and I think he's happy for us to talk to him like that.
In every little thing you can talk to him, because people say, oh no, you can't, he's occupied.
You know, I talk to him about everything.
Me too.
Yeah.
And he answers, he's alive?
Yeah.
How does he answer?
It depends, because many people say that you have to look for the answer, but I always tell him, I have ADHD. I can look for the answers like in a mysterious way. You have to be direct with me. You have to tell me like black and white. I can't analyze stuff, and he really gets all the answers like that. Once I was doing like a prayer, and every time that I tried to pray for that, a random person came and in our conversation gave me the answer. They didn't know that they were giving me the answers, but they were talking to me, or with an advice of my parents, or an advice with my friends, or whatever. I always just try to live my life with the eyes wide open, to try to look for the very clear answer, and normally he gets
You get
the
the
answer. Yeah.
This is amazing. And did you try to live in the intention, thy will be done, as it said in Our Father, to live in the divine will, that you hand over things to him?
Yeah, of course. In fact, yesterday I was talking to her that sometimes the mistake of the Catholics sometimes is to pray for the things you want, the things you believe that it's the right thing, rather than to ask him for I don't know how to let you understand his will and to live what he wants you to live, because of course his plans are much better than yours, but sometimes our human point of view make us suffer and make us see stuff in the wrong and completely wrong way. For example, I have a dream to, I don't know, have a family. And right now, it's not even close to me. But maybe God has a different plan for me. And I can't see it. I see everything in like if I had the vision here, and he has the whole point of view, and he understands everything, and he always wants me to do better and to live better and to live happier, and he knows the answers. So from like this year, I started to pray just for his will. Just I'm a Hakuna song says that my steps, the steps that I take, will be the. ¿Cómo se dice en español? Que los pasos sean los pasos de mis pies. Yeah, that your dreams would be the steps of my feet, the steps that I take. Like me, of the. Sí, that my. I don't know how
In
to
Spanish?
translate it. Que mis pasos sean, que tus sueños sean los pasos de mis pies.
Wow, that your dreams, God dreams, be
Ajá.
the steps of my feet.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So
Huh?
I try to.
So you made the experience that God the Father, as said in the Bible, everything is good. What God does in our life, it's for the good. You made that experience?
Yeah. Sometimes it's really hard to see it. Sometimes it's really, 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 really hard to see it. But once the storm passes, you understand that everything came for good.
So you have to wait, be patient. You learn to be patient.
Yeah, a lot. And till now, I really suffer because of that. Because sometimes, of course, we are humans. Of course, we see the things in our human way, and it's really, really hard to sometimes see it as something good, and as something that came from good. So I always
Does
try to.
pain bring you closer to God?
It depends on the day, and depends how my faith is in the moment, because sometimes it takes me farther away. But then when I'm so far away that I feel even scared that I'm really far away from God. And thankfully, I still believe Him, even if my faith is like crumbling. I know that I have to come back to feel safer, even if I'm in pain. And suddenly, when I go back, even if I'm in pain, everything goes smoother and lighter, and it feels like I'm getting carried by Him. So
How do you have that feeling that you're getting carried by Him? Everybody wants that, no? To be cared of, to carried.
I think you have just to pay attention. Sometimes we're just focusing on everything that is happening, but if you just pay a little bit of attention, you will see that you're not alone. You're not even walking by yourself. It's like carrying you, and all the steps that it's been taking all the way. He's taking from you, like he's taking the steps from you, and he's just carrying you and making it the way easier. Because of course we live in a human world. We don't live in a very easy world. So of course, there has to be problem in the evil exists. We have to understand that the evil also wants to separate us from God. So we just have to think as okay, the evil exists, but the good also exists. Just take the hand of God, and He will take us through the evil in a very easy way.
Wow, powerful. So you made the experience. Every thought which is peaceful, joyful is from God, and everything what is like fast, do this, and angry, that's not
Yeah,
from God.
of course. Every time that I I also say when there's fear, fear doesn't come from God. When normally when there's something negative about thought that I have or whatever, I know that it doesn't come from God. Of course, doubts can come during the decision making or during the something that's happening, but doubts aren't wrong. Doubts sometimes take us closer
To
to God.
God. To have faith, to hand it over.
When you're scared, that doesn't come from God. God just tries to give you a peace in your heart that gets like like a light in your heart, that maybe you're scared or you are feeling like insecure, not scared, insecure about everything you're doing. But there's something inside of you that's telling you it's the right thing. Even if you're uncomfortable doing, it's the right thing. You're not scared, just insecure. So
Wow, powerful. At the end, what do you tell people? Why come to Medjugorje one time?
I come here just to feel hugged by our Mother of Heaven, and come here to feel peaceful. And sometimes humans need to see other people's life to see God and to see that He exists. And this is a place to understand that even if you don't have faith, or even if you don't believe it, just come here and you will believe, and you will see God everywhere.
You pray the rosary?
Yeah, I try to, not as often as I should, but I try to pray. Yeah.
Why do you think when you come to Medjugorje you will believe in God? What is it that makes people believe in God here?
Eh,
In the good God who makes us smile, happy, peaceful.
I just, in our world, we swim against everything, against everything that the world is telling us to do. And here, there are so many people that it's going to the same way, that it's not hard to go to Him. And when you see people all around you that it's believing about everything that God says and everything that is happening here in Medjugorje, you just open a little bit more, and it's just you just make yourself more sensitive about everything. So you get to see the stories and to hear the stories of the people that come here to change their lives, or to pray for a miracle, or just for guidance, or maybe just for curiosity, and they get to see or to change their lives for the good. So that's the things that I think many people come back to remind themselves that God exists through the other persons. So,
And it's in silence you find God?
no, I think when a lot of people say that God speaks in the silence,
Of the
for
heart?
me, He's a very, very explosive God. He shows you through the nature and through everything. He's not silent. He's really loud. He's really, really loud. So you just have to open yourself, and you will hear Him, and you will see Him, and you will understand Him. And
Just open your heart and yearn for Him, the one who looks out for me. He says in the Bible, I will show myself to.
yeah, of course. You just have to let Him, or a little bit. Maybe don't open your door. Maybe just a little bit of the window, and He will show the grace.
Just a millimeter,
Yeah.
a little curiosity. And is it true when we love, we are connected to God because God is love?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Simple as that, like children, play,
Yeah.
be in the moment, happy,
Just,
play in the
I think
moment.
all the good things in the world come from God, and it's God. When you get to be loved by somebody and you love somebody, there's God in between. So, of course, there's God everywhere.
So we invite people to come to Medjugorje,
Yeah, of course.
come here. And why you're Catholic? What's so beautiful about our faith?
I think it would be a shame not to be Catholic.
Why?
I think because I have some friends that don't believe in anything. Others believe in other stuff. And to be honest, I see them suffering more, and they don't see life as I see it. They see more painful stuff, they feel sadder, they get angrier easily. And I think that the Catholic life is just an easier way to live life. A way, like if you just put a glasses with a clearer filter, you just see everything more.
Clear. Yeah? So true. I see the same way.
Yeah.
What can I say? Thank you for that beautiful interview.
Thank you.